Now, with Ghana's housing deficit worsening as the years go by, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association and other stakeholders are calling for urgent reforms in the housing ecosystem. This year's JoyNews EcoBank Habitat Fair clinic brought together key stakeholders in the construction industry, and they're there to share exciting ideas and offer attractive discounts to potential house owners and consumers. GREDA is calling for urgent measures to bridge the housing deficit and deal with the challenge of mortgage products being the preserve of the rich. There is more in this report by my colleague, Kweku Asante. We'll bring you Kweku Asante's report later, but joining me in studio is Frederick Opoku. He's the Secretary General for the National Tenants Union. Mr. Opoku, it's good to have you. Good afternoon.
Fine, Gifty.
Right, so National Tenants Union of Ghana, help us understand what this group is really about.
Thank you very much, Gifty. I think National Tenant Union of Ghana, as I always say, is a like-minded group of people who believe that now the issues of housing is becoming something that is worrying, especially the poor tenant in this country. As you may be aware of, issues of housing and even renting now has become some kind of monstrous thing. That majority, almost about 11 to 15 million of people, are not able to even pay their rents, maybe which is about 2-3 years and thereabouts. So we came together to have a collective voice to ensure that at least we can fight for our rights and to also draw to the attention of government and policymakers to understand that now the way to go is low-income housing, social housing, and not quote-unquote their so-called affordable housing, which doesn't help many in this country.
What are the kind of issues that your members have? List for us maybe 5 of them, of the key issues that your members have.
One, it has to do with the rent advance of 2 to 3 years, which is in breach of Article 25, subsection 5 of the rent laws of this country. We also have a problem of higher rents. People have to pay huge sum of monies. So if you are going to take just one bedroom apartment, you can imagine at any point, anywhere. I'm not even talking about the extreme places, the Legons and the what have you. But even places now, Ashram Estate, for example, I remember a member who had a problem have to rent for 8,400 for a single year of 4 years, self-contained, single room, self-contained.
For how long?
For 22 months.
2 months?
22 months.
Oh, 22 months.
Yes.
Okay.
And just one bedroom, self-contained, and that is killing.
So rent advance. We have issues with rent advance and issues with the high cost.
We have also issue with landlords.
What's the issue with landlords?
They have disregard of the laws, forceful ejections, which is the breach of the rules of the game. We have an issue where majority of tenants in this country don't even consider agreements. That's a basic form of any contractual agreement between a tenant and a landlord. And because they are not aware of that, they need to be educated. There should be more kind of publicity education to ensure that at least they do what is right. They should first of all do the agreement and enter into contractual and enforceable agreements. If you're going to rent and you want to give yourself to be ejected, then you have to look into the agreement that you sign with that. But the moment they pay money, finish. And the moment the landlord takes back the money, finish. He will try to delay them. Tomorrow come. Before you realize that there's a problem, they want to eject them and bring another person over there, because after all, demand and supply is the king in the market. So
rent advance, the period of the rent advance, which is long, the high cost of rent itself, the landlord's behavior, and which other problem you have?
And most importantly, I think, according to I'm very much particular about the rent laws. You see, that rent control departments are not doing what's expected of them. And for that reason, the landlords are taking leeway of the loopholes in the law. So we are saying that there are a lot more for them to do, as far as I'm concerned, with respect to the rent control issues. And until the rent control comes in, to sanction and giving sanctions to the people, they are relegating their duties or responsibility just to solving issues or disputes, which is just one
aspect
out of 100
of the landlord-tenant relationship.
Exactly, and that is until and the rent law too is dead.
But let's look at the rent. So I wanted you to list these issues so that we can address them and see what's needed to fix the problem.
Sure.
You talk about rent advance. The fact is, if you go and you want to rent, someone else is standing by with money. So even though the law says you can't take beyond this, your fellow, should I say your fellow Ghanaian,
ready to pay.
who is also a tenant, is saying, look, if Kofi doesn't have the money, I have the money, I'm ready, give it to me. At the end of the day, it's about demand and supply. If I'm renting a house, I'm doing so, to make some money.
Who calls them?
Well, that's what I'm asking. How do we deal with this problem?
It's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
That I'm asking. Now, who calls them? Now, government.
So you're blaming the government?
Of course, yes. One. Why are you blaming the government? If you go to their manifestos, what do you see? One promise to the other, one promise to the other, and one promise to the other. But nothing come to work. They try to pay lip service in anything that they do. And the lip service is not helping this country. Now, Gifty, if you care to know, we are saying that tenants in this country number over 15 million. Yeah. Anybody who really want to challenge me should bring any records that you can even tell me.
But how did you put together this record?
We have been doing a lot of underground movement and look, today, if you have, say, 2 million housing deficit, right? Our population is now 30 million thereabouts. Now, I am telling you that how many of us can have their own apartment? If you put 100 people, 100, you can't get 10 people with their own apartment. Meaning that 98% of every 100 people are tenants. Just suppose that number with the population of this country. So if I say 15 million, so why don't you care about 15 million people? And you think that they can't rent, they can't do anything, and you even think that you play second fiddle. You are interested in education, in building bridges, in building roads, but shelter, common shelter, you think...
What do you expect government to do?
At least.
I mean, one of the things that the NPP administration has done is put something in their manifesto that talks about making it easier, giving people loans to rent. Is that good enough for you? And what you expect as an association?
In fact, we had opportunity to meet the Vice President on the 3rd of September. And he had to explain himself the importance of that particular rent scheme program that they are bringing to board. Certainly, I wouldn't say it's bad, because at least some category of people are going to benefit. But the fact is, really the informal sector, those who constitute majority of the bracket of suffering will not benefit. So if you're talking about giving monthly support or monthly support to some people, then I don't think majority of people will benefit. And the informal sector, the truck pushers, the market women, and the communities, how do they benefit? So it's not about few people. And anytime they are bringing any program or any project into being, they are talking about the public service. They are talking about the police. They are talking about the military. They are talking about the security services. They are talking about people who earn income. So if you're not in the public sector, all their policies is geared towards public sector people. Nurses, doctors, teachers, NAGRAT. But we, the market people,
it doesn't...
the market people, Gifty, this is out.
Well, this is an election year. A lot of the politicians are talking about rent. So yes. Maybe when, as you keep sharing, you said you've met the Vice President. Yes. As you keep sharing your concerns, maybe there will be some good and lasting responses to them. I want you to take a look. Let's take a look at this story. We'll come back and then we'll wrap up our conversation on your expectations. By the way, we'll let you know also that EcoBank is providing some very nice mortgage packages. But take a look at this story.
The just ended JoyNews Habitat Fair clinic focused on housing in Ghana and the numerous challenges that have bedeviled homes acquisition in Ghana. In preparation for the main Habitat Fair, this week sought to create avenues for easy home acquisition in Ghana. General Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Development Association, Samuel Amegaibo, says Ghana's housing deficit is worsening by the day, and there's the need to bridge it.
Unfortunately, the deficit is worsening by the day. I remember in 2010 when UN Habitat, and then at that same time we had a national housing census conducted. So the two data combined together, they were able to determine that our housing deficit was 1.7 million at that time. And if you look at how much we needed over a 10-year period, vis-a-vis what we are able to supply on the market, we realized that there was a big shortfall. And so adding on from that time, that is why we were able to say that as of last year or so, we then said that the deficit has gone up from the 1.7 million to over 2 million. And so we haven't done very well to overcome it, but we as private estate developers like Greda, we are working in a very harsh environment, and so we are doing our best. But when it comes to affordable housing, there has to be commitment from government to make it possible.
Samuel Amegaibo added that Ghana's mortgage products only favors people in the upper class.
The general earnings of Ghanaians is very low. And so if you look at the various mortgage products that we have on the market, it only favors those who are in the upper bracket. And so if you had listened to the conversation we had on Joy FM, for example, you realize that Republic Bank was saying that the government housing mortgage that has been launched, for example, which is going for 11.9% with them, vis-a-vis what the general market is at 24%, it is targeted at the private sector. Now, if it is targeted at the private sector, who in the private sector can access it, even though it is a cheaper one that government has initiated? He said those who are earning beyond 3 million are those, 3,000, Ghana cedis, are those who can access up to about 150,000 Ghana cedis. Then the question is, how many of us get that salary of 3,000 Ghana cedis?
Ghana's housing deficit has passed 2 million, and while successive governments are making efforts at dealing with this, EcoBank, a leading lender in the real estate development space, is giving the general public the opportunity to own homes without hassle. The JoyNews Habitat Fair provided opportunities to many potential property owners to become abreast of the processes leading to acquiring their houses. Many stakeholders in the industry will share and educate the prospective homeowners on what to do to secure their houses with ease in the main Habitat Fair this November. From land acquisition, sale, starting to build, using the right materials, completing the buildings to paintings and fittings, all that is needed, the Habitat Fair will be a one-stop shop for all your housing needs.
And indeed, we're bringing you the Habitat Fair in partnership with EcoBank Ghana. You do check with EcoBank Ghana. They have some really interesting packages for mortgaging. And if you want to, I mean, it's difficult. It's not that easy, but they're trying to make it easier. So check with EcoBank and get an understanding of what they have. So let me wrap up with you, Mr. Poku. I was asking you behind the scenes whether you've assessed, what the NPP is saying in the manifesto and what the NDC is saying in their manifesto about housing, and whether it convinces your members enough. If not, what do you want? Let's wrap up with that.
Thank you very much, Gifty. I think if you listen to NPP people or the NPP manifesto, it has said a lot of things. One, National Housing Authority is going to be established. Two, National Housing Fund is going to be established, and that is within the confines and the requirements of the national housing policy. Now, we begin to believe in that a bit, because almost about so many years, none of them go to that tangent of even trying to implement a national housing policy. But clearly, MPP has been very bold enough, and we are going to take them to task, for what they have said. With the NDC, they were also trying to, tell us what they want to do, especially they want to review the Rent Act. The same MPP also says so. But if you look at NDC's one, you will see a portion where they are looking at a minimum of 200,000
housing units.
20,000, not 200, sorry, 20,000
housing units.
Housing units. Now, if you divide this one by the eastern, they are building
the number of people who need
it is nothing to write on. It doesn't convince me at all.
I see. Well, we'll leave it here. But like I said, do check with EcoBank. They have a very interesting package. Mr. Opoku, thank you very much for coming.
You are welcome.
Frederick Opoku is the General Secretary of the National Tenants Union of Ghana, and they look to engage landlords or engage the rent authorities about rent-related issues.